Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to Get to Know the Candidate. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Kenneth Mejia, and he is running for city controller. So we'll get to know him better, know what he is about, and also what his platform is and what are his plans, for Los Angeles. So there is Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth. Welcome.
Hi. Hey, Ara. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to welcome you. And for those of you that are watching live, please feel free to share your questions here in the comments so that Kenneth can share them and your opinions. I know that even though we're in the digital platform, you guys are all welcome to also participate in the conversation by posting on your comments. So I see already people saying that Jack is saying that he's helping in your campaign, so that's exciting. So as people trickle down, just settle in, call your friends, and let them know that we are ready to have a conversation with Kenneth. So Kenneth, welcome. How are things going in the campaign trail?
Things are going great, Ara. We got less than 3 weeks till ballots get mailed out. So when we have these remaining 3 weeks, we're trying to get the vote out so that when the ballots hit, we can essentially hopefully get close to the 2 million voters to vote for us. So it's going. We launched December 2020, and we're trying to do our best to reach out to a city that's really, really big.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, so I see people that are watching on Facebook. I see other people commenting. Welcome, and I see folks already asking questions. So Kenneth is running for controller and city controller, and we're just about to start our conversation. So perfect timing. Tell us a little bit about you, Kenneth, if you can share what who you are and just like a little bit about who you are.
Right. So, for those who don't know, my name is Kenneth Mejia, he, him. I was born and raised in Silmar, and it's in the Valley, still city of LA, by a single immigrant mom. My parents are from the Philippines, and she's a registered nurse. So, shout out to all the single moms and the nurses out there. You all, you do a lot of hard and great work in raising, uh, you know, great children. So hopefully I am a great child of my mom. But essentially she instilled education and hard work into me. And that's pretty much, what I put my focus on growing up was going to school, trying to get good grades and trying to make her happy and helping others. And because of that, I did a lot of a mutual aid when I was younger. Before it was called mutual aid, I think, with
Right.
those who were experiencing homelessness, and pretty much that's where most of my organizing revolves around, is around housing justice. And so I've been a member of the LA Tenants Union since 2016. And professionally, I'm a certified public accountant. I have 11 years of accounting and auditing experience. I used to work at Ernst & Young, one of the big four accounting firms, as an auditor. And that's pretty much one of the big reasons why I'm running for this office, because the city controller is the city's accountant and auditor. And why not have an accountant and auditor? We've never had a CPA as city controller before. And I think this would be a history in the making. It
That
would
is
be the,
crazy to me. That is
yeah.
crazy to me that this position is all about numbers and accounting and making sure that our city is accountable for the money that they spend, that is well spent, for contracts. And we have never have had a CPA or a numbers person, a math teacher at least, or somebody that understands this role really well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why a lot of people don't know this position exists, because the city, I think, uses this position as a placeholder position for many career politicians. And it's
Mhm,
usually one of the lowest voter turnout races because no one talks about it who
mhm.
at the city. And I think our campaign has done the most education on the position in the history of probably of this position being around. And I think it goes to show just how civic engagement on letting people know where their taxes are going or what the controller can do has been ignored for far too long. and our campaign is actually doing the job already. So definitely, it's going to be a blast. If we win, when we win, we'll make history as the first CPA, the youngest, um, the first person of color city controller, I think in over like 100 years, the first AAPI citywide elected official as well. And most importantly, I think you want to have someone who understands the job well and who's looking out for people's taxes. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to welcome everyone that is watching on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. If one platform doesn't work for you, please hop over to Twitter. We're also in there, and on YouTube if that's easier. You can also participate and be a part of the conversation by posting in the comments your ideas, your thoughts, and also your questions for Kenneth. So earlier, somebody asked, what are you like? I'm looking. What's the position you're running for? So we're already established that it's sitting controller. And what does that position entails? So why not giving some examples that people have, like that can draw very tangible about what a controller might be able to do and how that affects them directly in their lives?
Right. So the city controller is the city's accountant and auditor. And as the accountant, we're in charge of making sure that what the city council and the mayor approve in their budget gets followed through with. In addition, we also want to make sure that what we approve in the budget, we're not wasting that money. Like, for example, we're spending $1,000 on a tissue box. Like, we just want to make sure that what we're spending our money on
had
makes
happened
sense.
in the past.
Right, exactly. The city does spend a lot on contractors and third parties and nonprofits, and we just want to make sure that that money makes sense and is safeguarded. In addition, we're in charge of providing financial transparency. I think one of the greatest tools inherent in the controller is having data at the disposal of your hands, and our campaign is all about radical financial transparency. We want everything out there so that people can take that data and dig in themselves. As the city's auditor, we can perform financial audits and performance audits to make sure that departments do their jobs and making sure that they are being efficient and effective as well. So city controller is that independent watchdog, essentially.
Yeah.
And our campaign has been doing a great job already of providing that.
I have some examples that I want to touch with you that touches all of us, at least here in Los Angeles. One is, for example, the Department of Water and Power. And in the recent years, we have seen a lot of corruption, a lot of news about, what happens at LADWP and how the money and the contracts have been expended. And I am a former commissioner for LADWP. And for me, it's very important that DWP is also accountable because I'm also a ratepayer. I also pay the bill every month. So I care deeply about it. And I know that the city controller can also audit or can ask for the finances of DWP, which affects all of us. So what are some of the examples that you can give around in the past that maybe about the utility or what is something that you would like to do in the future to make sure that LADWP is accountable for all of us, and especially LADWP that is a public utility, that it belongs to the people. It is owned by us. It behaves like almost like a nonprofit. So what are some of the things that you have seen in your experience or things that you would like to do in terms of DWP and accountability?
It's a great question. And, the city of LA, we gave a $30 million no bid contract to some sham companies to provide security services for the LADWP. And we also saw in the past, too, that we had billing system errors where hundreds of millions of dollars of rate paying charges were being levied against people. And there was no one to explain why. So, as a city controller, we want to make sure we are able to provide that transparency and that education to people on how and why they're getting charged the rates that they are. I think one of the things when we speak to voters is they want to understand their bill better. They want to understand why their bill was $80 last month, but now it's $160, even though they didn't do anything different. And I think that's what you need as someone who understands data and can, provide that to people in a way that's understandable and accessible. And that's what we want to do. I think it can get very complicated. Like, I'm not even an expert on rates and, and electricity and in kilowatts, but definitely I think it needs to be known. Just like how not everyone's an expert in auditing or accounting, like we explain it to people as to why they're getting what they're getting. So that's what I would love to do. I think that the LADWP, they have a huge budget. Well, it's like over
Billions.
10 billion, or it's a
Mhm.
large amount. And essentially, we need to provide that audit and oversight, especially on what people are getting charged and why.
Yeah, and I really hope that when you get elected, that we can have a much more close relationship with the utility and the controller. Because as I was a commissioner, I never had the support of the controller on my side. I never met the controller. I mean, I know the controller, but I never met the controller in one of my meetings. He never sent a staff member to find out. It's such a nebulous kind of process with what the controller audits, and it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
I give you another example. Parks. I have been for the past couple of years. I have been a big park advocate, especially in the pandemic, where so many people had to stay home and they didn't have a place to go to like take care of their mental health or practice or just be outdoors and just like be safe without being around in close proximity to other people. And there's money for parks. It's $851 million for parks, and there is no accountability around parks. So I'm giving these examples for folks that are listening so that they know how important excuse me, how important it is, your role, and how we must participate in this process, and we must get to know candidates that are running like yourself that can really bring about much needed change that we need. So my next question for you is, what is your platform? What are some of the focus? Because there's so many people and there's so many pieces of the city, like the trash pickup and the trees. And I mean, and I'm only talking about this, but housing. You have been a big housing advocate. So if you can walk us to what are some of your main priority goals in your campaign?
Right. So for everyone tuning in, the city controller is we're not in a policy making position. We cannot pass laws. We can't even, allocate money the way we want to. But what we can do is we can affect policies with our audits, with our financial transparency, and the next upcoming budget. Right. Like, say we found out that during the year we overspent $100 million on overtime to the fire department. Right. And it's like, what we found, and we wouldn't be giving them that $100 million again next budget. Or we found out that we were misspending money on shelters that weren't up to code, they weren't
Yeah.
livable, they weren't humane. And next budget we could be like, actually, maybe we shouldn't give 50 million to these shelters. Maybe we should just pay for people's apartments instead.
Mhm.
Just things like that. But our goal, or our campaign, is about providing financial transparency, accountability, and education on the city's finances. On specific issues like homelessness, for example, we want to be able to provide data and pretty much analysis on where homeless spending is going. Right now, on the city websites, there is no itemization of homelessness spending, but for other departments, there are. So that's why a lot of people don't trust homelessness spending a lot, because there is no ledger, there is no
Yeah.
online Excel sheet that shows you where homelessness spending is. And that's what one of the things we want to do. We also want to create a homeless advisory board that can act as an oversight role with people who are actually experiencing homelessness or who have experience, because they would know the solutions best than these people in the city. For housing, we released a map that shows you where the housing department have issued affordable housing covenants The city of LA paid a private vendor $2 million to make that website. We did it for free, which essentially shows you where the city has low income units. So that's another thing we want to do. We also want to interview and do walkthroughs and audit the housing department to see how many complaints they get from tenants who are being harassed by their landlords, so that we can make sure that their complaints are being treated in a timely manner. Because one of the things we see in the housing movement is that tenants get harassed constantly,
Yeah.
but they don't get responded to by the housing department in a timely manner. And these people end up leaving because they don't know their rights. So that's also another thing we want to do on the housing. When it comes to things like the environment, right? We want to make sure we audit out the city of LA's Green New Deal path. We passed that years ago, but the city
Is
of
it
LA
really happening?
and yeah, the city doesn't provide transparency or accountability on reaching milestones. So, it says we're supposed to plant 90,000 trees or 70,000 trees by last year, and we're not even close to it. But no one's holding anyone accountable on it, right? We still get our energy from oil companies, from gas, and
From
I think
gas.
we just need to
And now the
provide
new
that.
thing is hydrogen, which is very scary.
Exactly. And we want to provide that accountability on our progress on that. So, those are just some of the important issues we want to talk about. And as you could see, we're using this as more of an analytical role, because we can't pass laws. We can't do any
Right.
of that, but it's more so as like putting information out there.
Well, Kenneth, I'm a regular, person. I mean, for those of you that know me, you know that I'm a lot more involved than your average, resident. But if there is something that I want to know more about, how do people reach to the controller to say, hey, I feel like in my corner, they've been building a crosswalk for the past 4 years. Is this okay? Is this, how much is this cost? Is this going to where it needs to be? Why is it taking 4 years?
Right.
And whoever is listening to this, please put a little heart in the comments, or tell me if you have experienced anything like this. I mean, we've seen construction streets being fixed, years and years of like construction. So how do anyone that is listening, or anyone in Los Angeles, can reach out? Can people reach out to the controller and say, hey, can you look into this? And the controller should do it, or how does that process work, so that we can also get educated here?
Yeah, great question. Well, first of all, communicating with the controller's office is very difficult. When
Yeah.
you try to call them, they don't pick up. When you email them, they don't respond back. And when they do, they're like, file a CPRA,
Mhm.
and I'm like, why do I need to file a CPRA
What
if
is
I
a
have
CPRA for folks that are
a
listening?
CPRA is a California public records request. It's a
Anybody can
formality.
fill this out, yo. Let's get
Yeah.
educated here. Kenneth, thank you for
ex-
bringing that up. If anyone can request this, for information, for freedom of information of any agency that is public. So, okay.
exactly. And I find it very like funny and sort of a shame that if we want to ask any questions from the controller, I have to issue a CPRA, which like basically forces them to talk. And I think like that's not a good
That's insane.
line of participatory
Not at
communication.
all.
So pretty much what we want to do in office is essentially, if you have questions or concerns, we want to have a discussion board. We want to have a place, like a whistleblower, which already exists, but more open line of contact for us to look into. Like, it shouldn't take 4 years or 3 years to get your sidewalk repaired or your tree trimmed. And, the city should take it seriously. And I think the city controller can have a huge role in that. I think one of the shortcomings of the controller's office is we don't have a big staff,
Yeah.
and we're not in charge of our budgets, which is terrible, because if we want to be in charge of auditing the city and making sure that our money is being well spent, the city controller and the ethics department don't get to control what goes into their budget.
All
So we
right.
can, yeah,
Hold on. I need to take a deep breath about this because I actually didn't know that. So that's totally a conflict of interest, because if you guys have to obey to a different body of government to get your money so that you can be independent and that you can do your job. Well, that's really hard because if the city who um who approves your guys' budget and ethics?
So basically, it's, I think it's the mayor's office, and basically, we can't staff up more if we need to, and um,
This
you
is
know,
wild.
what's gonna be funny is when I'm city controller, I'm gonna be auditing them myself. Like I'll be on the front lines with the I'll be on the front lines with the staff doing it because I really feel that it's important to have people who understand where their money's going and communicates with people. And so that's one of the big changes we want to have is have that open line of communication, at least responding to emails or at least having that discussion board so that we can look into these inefficiencies.
Incredible, incredible. Okay, I feel like I just learned so many new things with you. I appreciate it. For folks that are walking into this conversation, welcome. We're talking to Kenneth Mejia, who is running for LA Controller, and he just walked us through some amazing information. I hope that you guys all learning, getting organized, are planning to vote, and are planning to vote for good people in our area, for progressive people that are really going to be about us and not about a special interest. So, okay, let's talk about the race. Who else is running? What is the playing field looking like? When are elections? So that we can start making plans and getting our families and our neighbors ready and start talking about it on your social media. Do not wait for the day of elections, guys. That's way too late. We're 50 days away from election. We got to start now. Start posting about it, start talking about it. Make sure that you're registered, make sure that you're asking other people to register, and that you're making a plan to vote. So let's talk about the race.
Right. So the race and the election is on June 7th, and ballots are going to get mailed out in less than 3 weeks. And we have seven opponents or seven candidates, including myself. I think it's going to be a heavily competitive race because this race is getting a lot of attention, many
Yeah.
thanks to our campaign alone, just for providing that transparency. Um, I feel like we have a huge advantage as being the only CPA, certified public accountant. And better yet, we're already doing the job. I think a lot of people are recognizing that we are emulating what we want to see in office, like all the maps we've created, all the billboards we put up, all the digging in with the CPRAs that we've done, and we're not even in office. The fact that the LA Times and all the news agencies are contacting us for financial transparency just goes to show that we are already acting the part. And I think that's really our main advantage, and a lot of people do recognize that. So our biggest opponent is obviously a city council member, Paul Koretz, but we're giving him a run for his big money. And essentially we are running a huge grassroots campaign with over 800 volunteers. We received sorry.
And the dog is exciting too because I have seen him in the campaign trail.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we also use our corgis creatively. So we're just doing things that I think are so untraditional that it's like driving these consultants like mad. They're like, what is Kenneth doing? He's not doing the typical He's knocking on doors. He's doing social media. He's doing billboards. He's doing Pikachu. He's doing dogs. He's so unpredictable. And I think that's one of the great reasons why I think we're going to win. We're going to win outright in June. So, let's hopefully everyone goes out and gets their ballot and votes early.
It is so refreshing to see people running campaigns and on their own way and not committing to what the consultants or the regular campaigns out there are supposed to be doing, which just to educate folks that are watching. Oftentimes when you run for office, you have a set of consultants that are the same consultants that run from campaign to campaign, losing or winning both. And they tell you to do very specific things. They tell you to call all your friends and everybody that you know for money and that focus on fundraising. so that you can mail people pieces. I don't have any piece of me. I've been getting a lot of pieces from folks. So that you can get a piece of mail basically telling what the consultant is. But I feel like that process takes such a personal part of running for office, which is something that I I really enjoy and I love when when I run for office. So tell us more about what are some of the strategies that you're using on your campaign that are non-traditional per se to to like the everyday election candidate running for office, more established candidate running for office.
Right. So, our campaign, we do the traditional of like knocking on doors, phone calls, yard signs. Then more non-traditional stuff is dressing up as like in a costume and going into busy places and getting their attention.
I love that.
Um,
And the banners, the big bold billboards
banners, and
are
the billboards are
amazing.
everywhere. We just put one up an hour ago. So if anyone's in Echo Park, you'll see our big billboard that we just put up. We're pretty much using social media cleverly. We have great, awesome videos that we put that talk about transparency and education. We do Twitch streams. We use TikTok. So I'm doing like a dance in front of a financial transparency behind me. And I think it's really it's really awesome. In our campaign, we basically employ people who are activists, who are organizers, not consultants. People who don't have jobs, and they're helping us win. Whereas like these typical campaigns will pay a lot of money to some consultant who will then do all that money with it and whatever, do mail or something. But we're here, um, you know, investing back into our community and using creative ways. I think another big thing that drives us is that our campaign is driven by the youth. So a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff you see here has been made by high school students, by college students, and they take the wheel a lot. And I think that's really one benefit of our campaign is anyone can join the campaign and have a say.
I love that. I think that is so important for me too. I really hone in when I run for city council in 2020, being a campaign for real face-to-face people, for getting people out there, getting them to talk to other people. And in today's era, that is so much easier than before, like we didn't have to run when the pandemic was happening, that we couldn't really talk to people in person. And one of the things that I love the most about being a candidate is exactly that, being around people and learning about what they need and how we can work together. What are some of the anecdotes that you have that are exciting and positive? If maybe you can share with us a little bit of what's like the life of a candidate
Yeah,
in your on your eyes. Yeah.
just continue off of your question about what we do differently and unique. you know, uh, at the beginning of our campaign, we people were saying to use TikTok, and I was like, all right, fine. So I ended up doing a TikTok of me twerking in front of a bill of the city's budget. And what happened was, because of that video, we were able to recruit a high school student who is very smart and knows how to use technology. And he ended up joining our team. And pretty much because of that video, I don't know if you've seen any of our data maps or our website, but his name is Kyler, and shout out to Kyler. He's the one who created pretty much all the affordable housing maps, the LAPD stops, the parking ticket maps, pretty much everything that has been used hundreds of thousands
Incredible.
of times. And I think, it just goes to show that what you put out there can be instrumental in changing
Impactful.
someone's lives and getting involved in a campaign that they've never been in. They never done politics before, but now they're like in the trenches with us. So those are just that's just one great story of how our campaign has evolved from these untraditional methods, and now
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm just so grateful to hear about young people being involved. Like it's so important every time a big a big purpose of me having these conversations with candidates and then just doing my live streams through the pandemic and before the pandemic, I have been a live streamer since day one. Since Facebook had lives in those days, I have been live streaming. But for me, it's always about awareness and education. How are the people that are watching coming out of this learning something new? And it's so refreshing and exciting to hear that you have been able to galvanize technology and being a little different to recruit folks that are awesome and that are different and that are amazing. But not all things in the campaign are so positive and exciting. Unfortunately, there is a very dark side about running for office, in my opinion. One of the things that I hated most was just navigating all the chalky waters. Like it's really true when they say that in politics, when you're running for office, you're really going to learn who your friends are. Your friends are not, your friends are. And it was heartbreaking for me to see so many people that I have collaborated with. I have been an environmental justice organizer my whole life in LA for over a decade. Much about the plans about getting LA off of coal was because of my efforts. Getting LA to the Green New Deal was because of my efforts. And to see some folks just being like, well, I don't know, maybe tomorrow, another day. Like it was so heartbreaking for me. What have been some of the more challenging, moments for you or stories about running for office?
Yeah, I mean, especially running as a grassroots campaign, I think money is definitely difficult. So from a fundraising perspective, we actually did really well, but it's always tough because we don't have big money. Like our opponents can raise $1,500 in 1 hour, and
In
we can
one
raise
hour.
$1,500 in like a couple of days. um, you know, Also running as a grassroots campaign, it's hard to get endorsements. When you try to go for clubs or anybody, they usually go with the person who's been in office the longest, and you pretty much don't get anyone. So for us, luckily though, we're endorsed by a lot of community orgs and people on the ground, and we really appreciate that. I think also too, as a campaign on accountability, you have to be able to show data and be able to go after everything and everyone in the city, no matter who you like or don't like. And I think, one example is people are like, Kenneth, you always talk about the police. Why don't you talk about homelessness? And it's like, I do. And I 100% agree that we should audit homelessness spending, and it should be done in a way that's transparent. And so, I think there's this misconception on who we are, just because I am an activist and most of our campaign are activists, that we can't go after everybody. But that's not true. We will, and definitely, I think that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're a policymaker or you're a controller, is you have to basically use your powers to and responsibly and go after everything. But yeah, I mean, those are just some of it. I would just say, as a grassroots campaign, fundraising is hard. Luckily, though, I've never had to do call time, and we've raised over close to 200 grand, and we received $428,000 additional in matching funds. So we've raised
Wow.
close to $650,000 so far without 1 minute of call time.
That's
so,
incredible.
so it's
That's
mainly
something to
just
be
been
very proud of.
mainly just been grassroots, like social media and me talking to people, and like that's how we've raised all our money so far.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Good for you. And it goes to show that the power of grassroots fundraising can be really we can go really far, by doing that. So uh, that's exciting. And yeah, and like it's a citywide race, so you can kind of like uh, throw a big net out there for other folks. I've been curious about, because I've seen some of your banners and they talk about that the hard reality that a lot of our budget in Los Angeles goes to the police. So and there is a big sentiment that I see, a big air wave that is coming through Los Angeles And it's this pull and push about, oh no, we need more money for the police. Oh no, the police is taking too much money from us already. So what has been your experience with these banners, and also in a political moment in Los Angeles where we see even candidates running for city for mayor, for the city mayor, uh, really honing actually very deeply on, no, I'm with the police and I want to, more money for them. We need to be safe. How do you balance those two things when you are going to represent our whole city, not just the people that believe that we should not take so much money from the police?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I think for us, as like I said, we're not policymakers. We
Mhm.
can't move money. We can't even defund the police. We can't pass rent control. We can't pass laws or anything. But one thing that everyone agrees to is holding people accountable
Mhm.
and holding the police accountable, making sure that they know where their taxes are being spent and what exactly are we spending $3.1 billion for? Like, what is it getting us? Is it stopping crime? Are they treating people when they stop people with dignity, or is it pretextual, or is it discriminatory against Black and
Mhm.
brown people? I think people agree that every city employee should be held to account, and what's not been done before is auditing the police. And I think, if you want to have that accountability, then they need to be audited. From a financial perspective, they take the highest amount of money and revenue from the city. And I think,
60% about.
yeah. And, I think when we talk to conservatives, to even center, where we tell people, like, we are here to hold everyone in the city accountable. Like, you deserve to know what exactly this money is getting you and if it's
Right.
working. If you think that the police are there to stop crime and to prevent crime, okay, let's look at the data, and then we answer that question. And I think when we answer it, they're shocked because they don't get the answer that they want, or we're just being plain truth. I'm like, here's the numbers, here's the data. Like, I'm not being subjective. I'm just saying, here's the data on what you think it is. And I think when we show people that, they like, oh, okay, well, we need to find ways to keep us safe. Like, what alternatives do you have? And I think that's when it goes to city council and the mayor. It's like, well, if they're not keeping us safe, what can we do? What can we get more for this $135,000 city employee? It's like, oh, well, we can actually hire 2 social workers or to replace these, and they could handle people who are experiencing homelessness, or we can replace them to handle traffic stops, and
Mhm.
etc. So, for us, it's really about providing accountability on every department and our tax dollars. And I think everyone agrees with that.
Yeah. Wow. Wonderful. That's really good to hear. And in the topic of transparency, I think we can all agree, even the folks that want more budget for the police or not, that we want to know where our money is going. So if folks that are watching or might be watching in the future, or whoever is sending this video around and are getting to know who you are, what are some of the things that they can do for your campaign to support you, or what are some of the things that people can come on board and do, and support your campaign?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone can visit mejiaforcontroller.com, and you can sign up to
Just everywhere, yeah.
volunteer. You can donate still. We would still love small dollar donations, because, those power us tremendously. Um, I definitely think that telling 10 of your friends in LA to vote for us and committing them to vote for us would help us. And you can also pledge on our website at
Yes.
mejiaforcontroller.com, so that we can track our vote count.
Amazing. And for those of you that are watching on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitch and Twitter, you can see the banner right now, and you can click in there, and I'm gonna post it on the comments. And for those of you that are on Facebook, you can see the pin, and I will post this live stream so you guys can kind of go back and check it out and share it and make your comments. What are some of the last things that you want to leave folks with before we go?
I think if our campaign has made you excited about the city controller race, I hope that that is enough for you to vote for me and our campaign. I think we're doing the job already, and we're acting the part. And at the end of the day, we just want you all to know where your money is being spent and if the city's doing their job right, no matter who it is, because data and knowledge, their power. Knowledge is power, and the more you have of it, the better it is. And I hope that when we win, we can educate the community about how to use the city's websites, how to understand financial terms, and just pretty much just keep that dialogue between the community and this oversight role. So thank you, Aura, for having me, and to all your supporters and followers for tuning in today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, lastly, to leave people just completely hyped up, I already posted on the comments like your information and such. Tell us three things of why people choose support you and vote for you. And those three things they can go out there and tell their friends so that they can also vote for you. So three things that you can leave us with so that we know what are the reasons why we should support you.
Number one, I think qualifications matter. I'm the only certified public accountant running. I'd be the first CPA ever. Number two, I do think representation matters in LA. That's super diverse. To have someone who is a millennial, who is a person of color, who is a representative of this city and its diversity, and who organizes and is on the ground a lot. I think it's really important to have that, someone who has experience out there as well. And lastly, we're doing the job already. I think most importantly, go to our website, go to our social media. You could see what we want to do in office and how we're doing it just by going to our resources or just looking at our billboard. That's what we want to do, is provide that transparency and communicate with you all the time. So I hope those are three great reasons for you all to vote for us.
100%. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you. Thank you for running. Believe me, I firsthand know how hard it is to run for office. Thank you so much for having the courage to show us a different way. For all of you that are watching, please support Kenneth. Support more candidates that are grassroots for office. Show up. If you don't have $10 or $20, that's okay. Come to the campaign trail. Go door knocking. There's so many tools that people are using, like texting and all that fun stuff. We're less than 50 days away, I think, or 50 days away to elections in June. Don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it. Make your plan. Get your friends, and let's go. Thank you so much, Kenneth. And hopefully next time around, we'll get you in here as the controller of Los Angeles.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of your day. So thank you everyone for watching. If you want more information about Kenneth, you can go to mejiaforcontroller.com. You can also hit him up on Instagram or on any of social media, and he'll be there to answer your calls. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope you have a blissful rest of your day. And don't forget, this week is Earth Day, so more about that soon. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.